Have you ever wondered what made Alexander the Great so great? Was it just his charisma, his tactical brilliance on the battlefield, or something more? We often hear about his epic battles, like Gaugamela or the Hydaspes, but the real secret to his undefeated record wasn't just about swords and spears. It was something far less glamorous, yet infinitely more critical: logistics. Today, we re-uncovering the untold story of how Alexander's mastery of supply chains fueled one of the greatest military campaigns in history. Forget what you think you know, because the genius was in the details. So, what exactly was this logistical magic? Imagine marching an army of over 50,000 men, plus thousands of horses, and support staff across deserts, mountains, and hostile territories, all the way from Greece to India. How do you feed them? How do you arm them? How do you keep them moving? This was the puzzle Alexander solved better than anyone before him, and arguably anyone since. His success wasn't an accident. It was a meticulously planned operation that began long before the first spear was thrown. Let's start with the basics: food and water. An army marches on its stomach, and Alexander's army was a ravenous beast. He didn't just hope to find food along the way. His campaigns were synchronized with the rhythms of nature. He timed his advances to coincide with local harvests. When his army moved through Mesopotamia, it was during the grain harvest. When they were in Egypt, they capitalized on the fertile Nile Delta's bounty. This wasn't luck. It was brilliant strategic planning. He essentially turned entire regions into his personal pantry. To manage this, Alexander had a dedicated corps of logisticians. These weren't just guys hauling sacks of grain. They were engineers, accountants, and quartermasters. They scouted ahead, established supply depots, negotiated with local merchants, and even organized the minting of new coins to pay for supplies. This created a mobile economic ecosystem that moved with the army. They would seize granaries, pay for goods when necessary, and ensure a steady flow of resources from the rear to the front lines. This level of organization was unheard of at the time. But what about moving all this stuff? Alexander knew that a slow, baggage-laden army was a vulnerable one. He revolutionized military transport. He minimized the number of slow, cumbersome wagons, which were prone to getting stuck in difficult terrain. Instead, he relied heavily on pack animals like mules and camels, which were more agile and could traverse mountains and deserts. He also enforced strict limits on the amount of personal baggage each soldier could carry. Legend has it that he once burned his own army's excess baggage wagons to prove a point. Speed and mobility are paramount. This light footprint approach allowed his forces to cover vast distances at astonishing speeds, often surprising his enemies before they could even muster a defense. Think about the campaign through the Jedrosian Desert on the way back from India. It's often cited as one of Alexander's biggest blunders, a disastrous march where thousands perished. But even here, we see his logistical mind at work, albeit under extreme pressure. He had his fleet, under the command of Nearchus, sail alongside the coast. The plan was for the fleet to resupply the army from the sea. While the plan went awry due to monsoon winds and inaccurate maps, the initial concept was brilliant. It shows he was always thinking about how to create a moving supply chain using both land and sea routes to sustain his forces. This integration of land and sea power was another key to his success. Alexander's navy wasn't just for fighting battles. It was a floating supply train. After conquering coastal cities like Tyre and Gaza, he gained control of the entire eastern Mediterranean coastline. This allowed him to ship supplies, reinforcements, and siege equipment directly to where his army was operating. His famous siege of Tyre, where he built a massive causeway to the island fortress, was only possible because his fleet controlled the sea, protecting his engineers and blockading the city. It was a perfect symphony of land and sea operations, all orchestrated by one commander. Furthermore, Alexander understood the importance of securing his lines of communication and supply. As he conquered new territories, he didn't just move on. He founded new cities, dozens of them, many named Alexandria. These weren't just vanity projects. They were strategically placed military garrisons, administrative centers, and logistical hubs. They were populated by Greek and Macedonian veterans who would secure the region, integrate it into his empire, and ensure that supplies and information could flow freely back to the front. These cities acted as vital links in a chain that stretched all the way back to Macedonia. This network ensured his empire wouldn't collapse behind him as he pushed further east. So, when we look at the big picture, Alexander's military genius becomes even more impressive. It wasn't just about winning battles. It was about the art of the possible. He created a system that allowed his army to operate further from home for longer periods and with greater speed than any other army of the ancient world. His understanding of resource management, transport, and strategic planning was the engine that powered his conquests. While generals before him were limited by the length of their supply lines, Alexander simply rewrote the rules. The next time you hear the story of Alexander the Great charging into battle at the head of his companion cavalry, remember the invisible army that made it all possible. The farmers, the engineers, the sailors, and the logisticians. It was their work, guided by Alexander's visionary strategy, that truly conquered the world. His tactics won the battles, but his logistics won the war. It's a powerful lesson that success in any great endeavor often depends on the things that happen behind the scenes. What do you think? Does this change your perspective on Alexander the Great? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed uncovering this hidden side of history, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into the past. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.